Hey guys, Jack here. Today we're diving into the top 10 mechanic scams that everyone falls for. Make sure to watch till the end so you don't get tricked next time you visit the shop. We all rely on our cars, and when something goes wrong, we trust mechanics to fix them. But unfortunately, not every shop has your best interest at heart. Some will try to upsell you on services you don't need, or worse, charge you for work that isn't even done. It's a frustrating experience, and it can cost you a lot of hard-earned money. That's why I wanted to make this video, to arm you with knowledge. Knowledge is power, especially when you're at the auto repair shop. By understanding these common scams, you can spot them a mile away. You'll be able to ask the right questions, understand what your car actually needs, and confidently say no to unnecessary repairs. This isn't about distrusting all mechanics. There are many honest, hard-working professionals out there. This is about protecting yourself from the few bad apples who try to take advantage of people. We're going to go through each scam, explain how it works, and most importantly, I'll show you what to look for and how to avoid it. So grab a notepad or just get ready to soak in this information, because by the end of this video, you'll be a much savvier car owner. We'll cover everything from bogus oil change recommendations to phantom fluid flushes. I'll give you the inside scoop so you can keep your car running smoothly without emptying your wallet on things you simply don't need. Let's get started and make sure your next trip to the mechanic is a fair one, where you're in control and confident in the services you're paying for. Let's do this! Alright, kicking off our list at number 1 is a classic and probably one of the most common ways people get upsold the unnecessary or way too soon oil change. You'll often see those little stickers on your windshield suggesting an oil change every 3,000 miles or 3 months, whichever comes first. Now, for some older vehicles using conventional oil and under severe driving conditions, that might have been the standard advice decades ago, but for most modern cars, especially those using synthetic or synthetic blend oils, that 3,000 mile interval is often way too short. It's an old habit that some shops just can't seem to break, or worse, they knowingly push it. So why do some shops still cling to this outdated advice? Well, simply put, oil changes are a frequent and relatively easy service for them to perform, making them a steady source of income. If they can get you in more often, they make more money. They might tell you it's cheap insurance for your engine, playing on your desire to take good care of your vehicle. While regular oil changes are absolutely crucial for engine health, doing them far more frequently than necessary doesn't provide significant extra protection for most modern engines and just ends up wasting your money and perfectly good oil, which isn't great for the environment either. The absolute best place to find the correct oil change interval for your specific vehicle is right in your owner's manual. Seriously, guys, this book is your car's Bible. Manufacturers spend millions on research and development to determine these service schedules. You might be surprised to find that your car can go 5,000, 7,500, 10,000 or even 15,000 miles between oil changes, especially if it specifies synthetic oil. Many newer cars also have oil life monitoring systems that tell you when an oil change is actually due based on your driving habits, mileage and time. Trust these systems in your manual over a generic sticker. Now, you can also get a good idea of your oil's condition by checking it yourself. It's super easy with the engine cool and the car parked on a level surface. Pull out the dipstick, wipe it clean with a rag, reinsert it fully and then pull it out again. Check the oil level, it should be between the add and full marks. Then look at the oil's color. Fresh oil is typically amber and translucent. As it ages, it will darken. Very dark or gritty oil is a sign it needs changing. But don't just go by color alone, especially with diesel engines where oil can darken quickly. Compare what you see with the mileage and your manual's recommendations. So what do you do when your mechanic says you're due for an oil change, but your manual or oil life monitor says otherwise? Politely ask them why they're recommending it sooner. You can say something like, "My owner's manual recommends an oil change at X miles, and I'm only at Y. Is there a specific reason you're suggesting it now, like a leak or contamination? This shows you're an informed owner. Keep your own service records so you know exactly when your last oil change was done and what type of oil was used." This simple step can save you hundreds of dollars over the life of your car. Coming in at number 2 is the infamous engine flush. This is a service that mechanics might try to sell you. claiming it will magically clean out all the sludge and deposits from inside your engine, restoring power and efficiency. They might even show you some murky liquid they supposedly flushed out of another car, or use a machine that looks pretty impressive. The idea sounds good, right? A super clean engine internals must be a good thing. Who wouldn't want their engine to be spotless on the inside, running like it just rolled off the factory floor? However, for most well-maintained vehicles, an engine flush is often completely unnecessary and can sometimes even be detrimental. Modern engine oils are packed with detergents and dispersants that do an excellent job of keeping your engine clean and preventing sludge buildup, as long as you're changing your oil at the recommended intervals. These detergents are designed to suspend small particles and contaminants, which are then removed when you drain the old oil. So, if you're doing your regular maintenance, your engine is likely already getting the cleaning it needs with every oil change, making an additional flush redundant. In fact, performing an aggressive chemical flush on an older engine or one that has been neglected and does have significant sludge can sometimes do more harm than good. These powerful solvents can dislodge large chunks of hardened deposits, which might then clog narrow oil passages, leading to oil starvation in critical areas like bearings or the valve train. Furthermore, some older seals and gaskets, which might have been perfectly fine and sealing adequately with some minor varnish build-up around them, could be compromised by harsh flushing chemicals, potentially leading to new oil leaks where there were none before. Now, are there any situations where an engine flush might be considered? Yes, but they are very specific and quite rare. For instance, if you've just purchased a used car with a completely unknown service history, and there's evidence of extreme neglect and severe sludge buildup, which might be visible through the oil filler cap, or if the valve cover is removed for another repair, a carefully performed flush by a trusted mechanic might be discussed. Some manufacturers might also recommend a specific flushing procedure if there's a known issue with certain engine models, but this is usually tied to a technical service bulletin for a specific problem, not routine maintenance. So, how do you avoid getting scammed by the engine flush upsell? First, stick to your vehicle manufacturer's recommended maintenance schedule, especially for oil changes using the correct type of oil. If a mechanic suggests an engine flush, ask them to show you concrete evidence of why your specific engine needs it. Are there visible signs of heavy sludge? Are there drivability problems directly attributable to internal engine deposits that a flush would solve? If they can't provide a compelling, evidence-based reason, it's usually best to politely decline. Regular oil changes are your best defense against sludge. Alright, scam number 3 is a particularly nasty one because it plays on your fear that your brakes are totally shot. Panic tactic. Brakes are undeniably one of the most critical safety systems on your vehicle, and nobody wants to risk an accident due to faulty brakes. Some unscrupulous mechanics know this and will try to pressure you into an immediate and often expensive brake job by exaggerating the wear on your brake pads or rotors. Even if there's still plenty of safe, usable life left in them, they might use alarming language or show you a part that looks bad to someone unfamiliar with brake components. How do they do this? Well, a common tactic is to tell you that your brake pads are down to, say, 2 or 3 millimeters and must be replaced immediately. While there is a minimum safe thickness for brake pads, often around 2 to 3 millimeters for the friction material itself, not including the backing plate, some shops might recommend replacement when you still have 4 millimeters, 5 millimeters, or even more life left. They might also try to convince you that your rotors need to be replaced, which is more expensive when they could simply be resurfaced, or might not even need any attention at all if they are smooth and within thickness specifications. This is where being an informed car owner really pays off. First and foremost, you have the right to see your old parts. If a mechanic says your brake pads are worn out, always ask them to show you the old pads. Ask them to point out the remaining friction material and, if possible, to measure it with a brake pad thickness gauge in front of you. New brake pads typically have around 8 to 12 millimeters of friction material. Knowing this gives you a reference. Also, ask about the condition of the rotors. Are there deep grooves or are they warped, which you might feel as a pulsation when braking? Many brake pads are also designed with built-in wear indicators. These are small metal tabs that contact the brake rotor when the pad material gets low, producing a high-pitched squealing or scraping sound when you apply the brakes. or sometimes even when you're not braking. This sound is your car telling you it's time to get your brakes inspected soon. So if your brakes are quiet and performing well, and a shop suddenly tells you they're dangerously worn, be a little skeptical and definitely ask for that visual proof and a clear explanation. Don't ignore real warning signs, but also don't be pressured by fear. If you're unsure, or if the shop is being very pushy and the explanation seems vague, don't hesitate to get a second opinion from another trusted mechanic. A good shop will be happy to show you the wear and explain why a replacement is necessary. Also, try to get a feel for the typical lifespan of brake pads for your car and your driving style. If you do mostly highway driving, your pads will last much longer than if you do a lot of stop-and-go city driving. Keeping a record of when your brakes were last serviced will also help you gauge whether a replacement recommendation is reasonable. Next up, at number 4, we have the fuel injector cleaning service, often pitched as a way to restore lost power, improve fuel economy, and make your engine run smoother. The sales pitch can be quite appealing. Who wouldn't want their car to perform better and use less gas? Shops might recommend this as a preventative maintenance item, suggesting that your fuel injectors get clogged over time and need a regular cleanse to keep them spraying fuel perfectly. They might have a special machine to do it, making it seem like a sophisticated and necessary procedure. However, the reality is that for most modern vehicles, routine fuel injector cleaning is rarely needed. Why is that? Well, two main reasons. First, the gasoline you buy at the pump, especially if it's top-tier certified, already contains a good amount of detergents. These detergents are specifically formulated to help keep your entire fuel system, including the fuel injectors, clean and free from deposits. Second, your car has a fuel filter that's designed to trap any contaminants in the fuel before they can reach the injectors. As long as you're using quality fuel and replacing your fuel filter according to your manufacturer's schedule, your injectors should stay relatively clean. So, when might fuel injector cleaning actually be necessary? It's usually not a preventative measure, but rather a diagnostic or remedial one. If your car is experiencing specific symptoms like rough idling, misfires, hesitation during acceleration, or a noticeable decrease in fuel economy, and diagnostic tests like checking for trouble codes or performing a fuel injector balance test point towards dirty or clogged injectors, then a professional cleaning might be warranted. But this is typically a response to an existing problem, not something you do just because every 20,000 or 30,000 miles. It's also important to understand that there are different types of fuel injector cleaning. The simplest and least effective is just pouring an additive into your fuel tank. While some high-quality additives can provide some mild cleaning benefits over time, they're not going to fix a significantly clogged injector. Then there's a more involved process where a pressurized cleaning solution is run directly through the fuel rail and injectors while the engine is running. This is more effective but also more expensive. Some shops might push for this more costly service as a routine item, which is often where the scam part comes in. To avoid falling for an unnecessary fuel injector cleaning upsell, the best approach is to stick to using good quality gasoline and follow your car's maintenance schedule for fuel filter replacement. If a mechanic recommends a fuel injector cleaning, ask them what specific symptoms or diagnostic findings lead them to believe it's necessary. Are there stored trouble codes? Did they perform a flow test? If they're just recommending it as routine maintenance without any specific justification for car, you can usually politely decline. If you do have a drivability issue, ensure they diagnose the root cause properly before just throwing a cleaning service at it. At number 5, we have a very common and easy upsell for shops, the engine air filter replacement. A mechanic might pull out your air filter during a routine service, show you that it looks a bit grey or has a few leaves on it, and tell you that your engine is starving for air and needs a new filter right away. Because it's a relatively inexpensive part compared to other repairs, and the logic of an engine needing clean air makes sense, many people just agree to it without a second thought. It seems like a small price to pay for engine health. Now, don't get me wrong, your engine air filter is incredibly important. It prevents dust, dirt, debris, and even insects from getting sucked into your engine, where they could cause significant wear and damage to sensitive components like cylinders, pistons, and sensors. A severely clogged air filter indeed restricts airflow, leading to reduced engine performance and decreased fuel economy. However, air filters often don't need to be replaced nearly as frequently as some shops might suggest. A filter that looks a little discolored or has some light surface debris might still have plenty of life left in it. The key, once again, is to consult your owner's manual. It will specify the recommended replacement interval for your engine air filter, usually in terms of mileage or time, like every 15,000 to 30,000 miles, or every 1 to 2 years. This interval can also vary depending on your driving conditions. If you frequently drive on dusty gravel roads or in areas with a lot of construction, your filter will naturally get dirtier faster and may need replacement sooner than the manual suggests. Conversely, if you mostly drive in clean urban environments, it might last longer. The great news is that checking your engine air filter is usually one of the easiest DIY maintenance tasks you can do. On most cars, the air filter is housed in a plastic box in the engine bay that's secured by a few clips or screws. You can typically open it up without any tools or with just a basic screwdriver. Once you have the filter out, inspect it. Hold it up to a strong light source. If you can see light passing through the filter media, it's likely still okay. If it's caked with dirt, black and opaque, then it definitely needs replacing. A few specks of dirt or a light grey colour doesn't automatically mean it's shot, so when your mechanic shows you your air filter, take a good look at it yourself. Ask when it was last replaced if you have service records. If it genuinely looks filthy and clogged, or if you're well past the recommended replacement interval in your manual, then yes, go ahead and replace it. But if it just looks a little used and you know it's not due for a change based on mileage, you can politely decline. You can also offer to check and replace it yourself if needed, as engine air filters are readily available at auto parts stores and are typically much cheaper than what a shop will charge for the part and labour. This is an easy one to save money on. Moving on to scam number 6, we're talking about the coolant flush, often presented as a critical service to prevent your engine from overheating and to protect your cooling system from corrosion. Your car's cooling system is vital. If it fails, your engine can quickly overheat, leading to catastrophic damage like warped cylinder heads or a blown head gasket, which are very expensive repairs. So when a mechanic suggests a coolant flush to keep things healthy, it sounds like a sensible preventative measure, and it's easy to agree to it. The upsell here often involves recommending a full system flush much more frequently than your vehicle actually needs it, or trying to convince you that your coolant looks bad or isn't protecting anymore without proper testing. They might point to the color of the coolant in the reservoir, which can sometimes be misleading, or use a very basic, often inaccurate test strip. While maintaining your coolant is important, modern long-life coolants are designed to last for many years or tens of thousands of miles, sometimes even up to 100,000 miles or more. As always, your first point of reference should be your trusty owner's manual. It will clearly state the recommended interval for changing your engine coolant and, crucially, the of coolant your vehicle requires. Using the wrong type of coolant can cause serious problems, including corrosion, incompatibility with seals and gaskets, or reduce cooling efficiency. So it's not just about changing it, but changing it with the right stuff at the right time. Many manufacturers have moved to extended life coolants that simply don't need to be flushed every couple of years like older traditional green coolants did. You can visually inspect your coolant level and its general condition in the coolant reservoir, also known as the overflow tank. The coolant should be at the correct level between the min and max lines when the engine is cool, and should generally look clean and be the correct color, like orange, pink, blue or green, depending on the type. If it looks rusty, has a lot of floating debris, or looks like oil has mixed with it, a milky, sludgy appearance, then you definitely have a problem that needs to be addressed, and a flush might be part of the solution after diagnosing the root cause. For a more accurate assessment of its protective qualities, specific gravity can be checked with a hydrometer or refractometer for freeze-boil protection, and some test strips can check pH and reserve alkalinity. A coolant flush a legitimate service when it's actually needed. For example, if your cooling system has been contaminated, perhaps due to a failing head gasket, if the wrong type of coolant was accidentally added, or if you're replacing a major cooling system component like the radiator or water pump, a flush is often a good idea to ensure the system is clean and filled with fresh, correct coolant. However, if your coolant is not due for a change according to your manual, and there are no signs of contamination or degradation, a preventative flush is likely just an unnecessary expense. Sometimes a simple drain and refill is all that's required by the manufacturer, not a full pressurized flush. At number 7, we tackle a potentially very expensive upsell, the transmission fluid change, or more often, a full transmission fluid flush. Your vehicle's transmission is one of its most complex and costly components to repair or replace. So the idea of preventative maintenance to save your transmission and ensure its longevity is highly appealing. Mechanics know this and might suggest a transmission fluid service, particularly a flush, even when it's not strictly necessary according to your car's specific maintenance schedule, or they might push a flush when a simpler drain and fill would suffice. One area of confusion is the concept of lifetime transmission fluid. Some manufacturers claim their transmissions are filled for life and don't require fluid changes under normal operating conditions. However, lifetime can be a bit ambiguous. Whose lifetime? The car's warranty period, or the actual lifespan of the vehicle? Many independent mechanics and transmission specialists argue that even lifetime fluids degrade over time and mileage, and that periodic changes can extend the transmission's life. This creates a grey area that some shops might exploit by recommending services too early or too aggressively. It's also important to distinguish between a transmission fluid, often called a drain and fill, and a transmission fluid. A drain and fill typically only replaces about 40 to 60% of the old fluid, as a good portion remains in the torque converter and cooler lines. A flush, usually done with a specialized machine, aims to replace nearly 100% of the fluid by pumping new fluid in while simultaneously pumping the old fluid out. While a flush can be beneficial for thoroughly cleaning the system, it can also sometimes cause problems in older, high-mileage transmissions with neglected service, as it might dislodge built-up varnish or debris that could then clog narrow passages or affect valve body operation. Some manufacturers even advise against aggressive flushing. This is an area where your owner's manual is absolutely indispensable. It will specify if and when your transmission fluid needs to be changed, and most importantly, the of transmission fluid required. Using the wrong fluid is a surefire way to cause serious transmission problems, potentially leading to premature failure. There are many different types of automatic transmission fluids, ATFs, continuously variable transmission fluids, CVTFs, and manual transmission fluids, and they are not interchangeable. The chemistry has to be right for your specific transmissions, clutches, seals, and gears. So, what's the takeaway? If a mechanic recommends a transmission fluid service, your first step is to consult your owner's manual for the recommended interval and fluid type. Ask the mechanic why they are recommending it. Is it based on mileage, symptoms like rough shifting or slipping, or the fluid's appearance and condition? Some transmissions have dipsticks to check fluid, others are sealed units. If a flush is recommended, ask if a drain and fill would be adequate, especially if your car has high mileage and an unknown service history for the transmission. Be very wary of universal transmission fluids unless explicitly approved by your vehicle manufacturer. Coming in at number 8 is a service that is genuinely beneficial but can be pushed unnecessarily: tire rotation. Rotating your tires, moving them to different positions on your car, is important for promoting even tread wear, which helps extend the life of your tires and can even contribute to better handling and fuel economy. Because it's a recognized maintenance item and tires are expensive, it's easy for a shop to suggest it, and for you to agree, thinking you're doing the right thing for your car and your wallet in the long run. The scam part doesn't lie in the service itself, but in the with which it's recommended. Some shops might try to tack on a tire rotation with every single oil change, regardless of the mileage driven since the last rotation or the actual condition of your tires. If your oil change interval is, say, 5,000 miles, and the recommended tire rotation interval is also around 5,000 to 8,000 miles, then doing them together makes sense. But if you're on a 3,000-mile oil change schedule, which, as we discussed, might already be too frequent, then rotating tires every 3,000 miles is likely overkill for most vehicles and driving habits. So what's a reasonable interval for tire rotation? Again, your owner's manual is a good starting point, as it will often provide a recommended mileage. A general guideline for many vehicles is every 5,000 to 8,000 miles. Some tyre manufacturers might also have their own recommendations to maintain the tyre warranty, so it's worth checking that too. The goal is to even out the wear, because front tyres, especially on front-wheel drive cars, tend to wear faster and differently than rear tyres due to steering forces, braking and weight distribution. You can also learn to visually inspect your tyres for signs of uneven wear, which might indicate a need for rotation or even an alignment issue. Look for differences in tread depth across the tyre or between the front and rear tyres. For example, the shoulders of the front tyres might be wearing more quickly than the centres or the rear tyres. Different vehicles also require different rotation patterns depending on whether they are front-wheel drive, FWD, rear-wheel drive, RWD, or all-wheel drive/four-wheel drive, AWD/4WD, and whether you have directional or non-directional tyres, or a full-size spare that can be included in the rotation. The key here is to be aware of your car's needs and not just blindly accept the service every time it's offered. If you're getting an oil change and it's been about the right mileage since your last rotation, then by all means, get it done. It's often convenient to do them together. However, if you just had them rotated 2,000 miles ago, you can politely decline. Keeping a simple log of when your tyres were last rotated helps you track this. Some shops offer free tyre rotations if you purchased your tyres from them, so be sure to take advantage of that if it applies to you. At number 9, we have the "your battery is about to die" scare tactic. No one wants to be stranded with a car that won't start, especially at an inconvenient time or in a bad location. This fear makes the battery replacement upsell particularly effective. A mechanic might perform a quick, sometimes superficial test on your battery during a service and then deliver the grim news that it's weak or failing and needs to be replaced immediately, even if your battery still has considerable life left in it. The issue often lies in how the battery is tested. Some shops might use a simple handheld voltmeter which only measures the battery's surface charge voltage. A battery might show a decent voltage like 12.4 to 12.6 volts when fully charged and resting, but still lack the crucial cold cranking amps, CCA, needed to start your engine reliably, especially in cold weather. Conversely, a battery might have a slightly lower surface charge if the car has been sitting or only driven short distances, but could still be perfectly healthy once properly charged and load tested. A quick, inconclusive test can be used to push a premature sale. A proper battery test involves more than just checking voltage. A good carbon pile load tester or a modern electronic conductance tester is needed. A load test measures the battery's ability to deliver current under load, simulating the demand of starting your engine. The tester will compare the battery's actual CCA output to its rated CCA, which is printed on the battery label. Many auto parts stores offer free battery testing using these more sophisticated testers, which can give you a much more accurate assessment of your battery's health, often including a printout of the results. Also, check the date code on your battery. Most batteries have a sticker indicating the month and year of manufacture. What's the typical lifespan of a car battery? Generally, most car batteries last between 3 to 5 years. However, this can vary significantly based on factors like the climate. Extreme heat is very hard on batteries. Your driving habits. Frequent short trips don't allow the alternator to fully recharge the battery. The type of battery and its quality. Signs that your battery is genuinely nearing the end of its life include slow engine cranking, dimming headlights or interior lights when idling, the battery warning light coming on, or the battery needing frequent jump starts. Obvious physical signs like a swollen or leaking battery case also mean it's time for a replacement. So, if a mechanic tells you your battery is failing, ask them what kind of test they performed and if you can see the results, especially if it was a load test showing the CCA reading. If you're skeptical or if the battery isn't very old and you haven't noticed any symptoms, consider getting a second opinion or taking it to an auto parts store for a free comprehensive test before you agree to a replacement. Don't just replace a battery based on its age. If it tests perfectly fine and shows no signs of failure, but also don't ignore clear warning signs from an aging battery, as being stranded is no fun. And finally, at number 10 on our list of mechanic scams, we have the cabin air filter replacement. Similar to the engine air filter, the cabin air filter is a legitimate maintenance item that does need periodic replacement. It's responsible for filtering the air that comes into your car's passenger compartment through the heating, ventilation and air conditioning (HVAC) system, trapping dust, pollen, mold spores and other pollutants. A clean cabin air filter contributes to better air quality inside your car, which is especially important for people with allergies or respiratory sensitivities. The upsell often happens when the mechanic is already checking your engine air filter. They might pull out your cabin air filter, show it to you, and it will almost always look somewhat dirty, as that's its job, and recommend replacing it, often at a price that's significantly higher than if you were to buy the filter yourself and install it. Because it's related to air quality and comfort and often presented alongside another filter replacement, many people agree to it without questioning the timing or the cost. Just like the engine air filter, your owner's manual will provide a recommended replacement interval for the cabin air filter. This is typically every 12,000 to 15,000 miles or once a year, but can vary. If you frequently drive in areas with high pollen counts, dust or pollution, or if you often park under trees that drop a lot of debris, your cabin filter might need changing more frequently. Symptoms of a clogged cabin air filter can include reduced airflow from your vents, a musty or unpleasant odor when the HVAC system is running, or increased fogging of your windows. The great news about cabin air filters is that, on many vehicles, they are surprisingly easy to access and replace yourself, often requiring no tools at all or just a simple screwdriver. The most common location is behind the glove compartment. You typically just need to unclip or lower the glove box door, and you'll see the access panel for the filter. You slide out the old one, note the airflow direction arrow printed on it, and slide in the new one. The whole process can take just a few minutes, and you can save a significant amount of money on both the part and the labor compared to having it done at a shop. So when a mechanic suggests replacing your cabin air filter, ask to see it. If it's genuinely filthy, clogged with leaves and debris, or if you're experiencing symptoms like reduced airflow, then it's a good idea to replace it. Check your owner's manual for the recommended interval and consider how long it's been. If it's due, you can either have the shop do it for convenience, or better yet, make a note to pick one up at your local auto parts store and try replacing it yourself. It's a satisfying and easy DIY job that keeps the air in your car fresh and saves you money. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more car maintenance tips. Stay safe out there. We've covered a lot of ground today, from shady oil change practices to unnecessary flushes and filter replacements. My goal wasn't to make you paranoid about every mechanic, but to empower you with the knowledge to be a smart consumer. Remember, many mechanics are honest professionals, but being informed is your best defense against those who might try to take advantage of you. By understanding these common tactics and knowing where to find the correct information for your specific vehicle, primarily in that owner's manual, you can approach car maintenance with much more confidence. Don't be afraid to ask questions, to see old parts, or to get a second opinion if something doesn't feel right. Keeping good service records also goes a long way in helping you track what's been done and what's actually due. Your car is a big investment, and maintaining it properly is key, but that doesn't mean you have to overpay or get services you don't need. I hope these tips help you save some money and avoid frustration on your next visit to the shop. If you have any experiences with these scams or know of others that people should watch out for, please share them down in the comments below. Let's help each other out. Driving a well-maintained car is a great feeling, and doing it without getting ripped off is even better. So take care of your rides, drive safely, and I'll see you in the next video.